For generations, humans have expressed their creativity by leaving behind their mark. As time moved forward, artists emerged and spent their lives training, and with just paint, they could portray incredible narratives. Art can make you happy. Art can make you angry. Art can be used by famous celebrities to sell NFTs. What makes art good or valuable? Historically, artists would have to be prolific just for a chance for their work to be seen, let alone to become famous for it. Also, naturally, skill increases the more artists practice, leading to better quality pieces. And the worth of a work of art increases when the artist's name is well known, which usually takes a lifetime devotion. This is why an original Rothko can go for over $8 million, despite having such a simple design. For actors, it doesn't take much effort for their work to be valuable because they already have a fan base. Actors can jump straight into generating popular art because of their fame, and, in addition, their fame increases the monetary value as well. Ultimately, what does this mean for the actual quality of their work? I would argue that the quality of an actor's body of work is less than the quality of artists who worked for their fame by producing art. This is Al Pacino by Johnny Depp. It is silk print on canvas with acrylic paint and paint marker. The notable characteristics of this piece include giant blobs of color from the silkscreen process separated by thick, choppy black and white lines from the paint marker. You can clearly make out the two mediums used as the paint marker reflects the light differently. The pop of the white paint marker catches the attention and keeps our eyes moving across the canvas, following the lines. The layers of color from the silkscreen give Al Pacino's face dimension and character, which is not so much the case with this next piece. This is Elizabeth Taylor. As you can see, Depp chose to print Elizabeth Taylor with fewer layers of color. Her face has much less dimension, and Depp's choice to not utilize the paint markers as before has left the whole piece feeling flat. It is worth noting that you can see his choice to change his style of line work to be more flowy than choppy. This makes the painting look less gruff and rugged, and instead more soft. On his website, neverfeartruth.com, Depp's work is described as a melding of pop art and street art. Pop art I can agree with, because his art evokes the work of Andy Warhol. However, I believe the term street art was placed in there to make it sound more edgy, to match the image Depp has built over the years. In my opinion, rather than street art, this reminds me of Art Nouveau. This early 1900s style of printing features heavy, flat areas of color, separated by a thick outline, and often utilized gold as a vibrant color to catch attention. I would say Depp's work is very similar to this design. It's also worth mentioning the similarities to the blown-up comic book paintings of Roy Lichtenstein, following a similar formula to that of Depp and Art Nouveau. So what are Johnny Depp's artworks worth? Once a silkscreen is designed, the image it produces can be reprinted many times. In addition, Depp's lines don't do much to fill the canvas. Truly, this art has a feel of work you would find mass-produced at a department store. Still, if I were to see this on the wall at a coffee shop, I would believe it to be worth, about $150 to $200. The actual value of one of these pieces is actually worth 3,292 pounds, or about 4,000 US dollars. Okay, on to our next celebrity. One day, Seth Rogan took a pottery class with his wife and soon found himself hooked. With his newfound craft and his passion for greenery, he finally shared his pottery with us. His first picture was of 7 unique ashtrays. Today, Seth Rogan is still making pottery for himself. However, he is working with a professional studio to produce slip mold pots of his original designs to sell on his website, houseplant.com. It's hard to tell if Seth Rogan considers himself a hobby potter or an artist. What is clear is his love for the craft and willingness to keep practicing. Because he shares his work with us on Instagram, there is a clear evolution over the years of his change in skill and taste. His sharp-edged, earth-toned pottery eventually turned colorful and rounded. He began to embrace gloopy, messy-looking glazes. It appears more and more that Rogan is finding his own unique style. We can see his evolution as an artist when we compare his first and his most recent sake sets. This first set uses harsh angles and a tannish brown glaze. Each cup has a different design, suggesting Rogan was learning to make new forms at the time. The functionality may not be great, as the volume of each of the 4 cups appear to be half of that of the bottle. The neck of the vase is a basic cylinder, which would lead to trouble pouring if not beveled properly. His most recent set is so different, you wouldn't guess it was made by the same person. Each cup is the same size and shape, and matches perfectly with the sake bottle, which has a flare in the neck, which would aid in better pouring. The glaze is a much softer and transparent blue. So, what is his work worth? Handmade pottery can seem pricey, with mugs easily costing between $30 to $100. It is important to remember that it doesn't seem that Rogan's original pieces are for sale. This limits me to judge only the work he sells on his website. For Seth Rogan's unique use of color and funky glaze, I would price it at about $65. This may seem low, but it is important to remember that this is not a one-of-a-kind piece of pottery. If it were not for the unique glaze and color scheme, I would have priced it even lower. The actual value for an original Seth Rogan designed ashtray is $285 US. Finally, I would like to talk about the art of Jim Carrey, the most prolific of the three actors I am talking about in this video. Carrey grew up enjoying solitude as it was a place for him to be creative and free. As a child, he loved to draw, but it wasn't until he was older that he began to paint. After a difficult breakup, Carrey fell into his art. For 6 years, he painted endlessly and came out with a unique and iconic body of work. Carrey doesn't mention much about where he gathers inspiration for his style, though he does mention the contexts in which he builds a painting off of. He puts narrative into his work, which is often prevalent even without context. The bright color and thick brushstroke application is reminiscent to Fauvism, a style popular in the 1900s. The current social or political contexts, the introduction of words, and the neon brightness evoke pop art, and his occasional choppy brushstrokes feel similar to post-impressionism. I believe that Jim Carrey's work separates him from that of Johnny Depp or Seth Rogan. While the former seem to produce work for their largest audience and/or that fit their current image, Carrey seems to produce art for himself, taking inspiration from the things that are most important to him in the moment. His work is bold and takes risks, while the work of Depp and Rogan do not. Deciding on a price for Carrey's work is complicated because there is so much of it. Some paintings are as small as a piece of printer paper, while others are so large you couldn't fit it through an average door. Because of the size, the evocation of real art movements, and the narrative, I would price an original Jim Carrey at around $400 to $600, with some wiggle room for size. That being said, the actual worth of Jim Carrey's paintings are unknown to the general public, aside from one gallery charging $10,000 for just 2 guests to attend with the promise of receiving an original Jim Carrey before even seeing it. It is, however, possible to purchase an original print of Jim Carrey's work for $800 US. This video is merely my opinion of the worth and quality of art based on the work, intention, and style. I base this off of art I see locally and the knowledge I have of the effort, money, and time that goes into making art. Actors can, and do, mark up their work exponentially simply because their names are attached to it. I mean, a simple print, a copy of one of Jim Carrey's pieces sells for $800, while the average artist sells theirs for maybe $20 to $50, sometimes more depending on varying factors. People want to buy the celebrity attached to the art more than the actual quality of the art. This is even the case with artists who gained their fame from the work itself, such as Pollock or Banksy. This is where art meets elitism. It is unfortunate, however, it has always been a factor of art that the best is reserved for those with the heaviest pockets. It just so happens that sometimes the best has less to do with integrity behind it, and more to do with the name attached to it.